Have you ever felt it? That quiet, creeping sense of fragility. Perhaps it comes in the morning, when the first light hits your window, and along with it, the weight of yesterday's anxieties and tomorrow's uncertainties. You scroll through your phone and see a world of curated perfection, of effortless success and unshakable confidence, and you feel a pang of inadequacy. A single critical email can ruin your day. A minor inconvenience can unravel your composure. You feel as though you are walking on a tightrope, one gust of wind, one unexpected wobble, away from falling apart. You are not alone in this feeling. Our modern world, for all its comforts and conveniences, has, in many ways, engineered fragility into our lives. We are conditioned to seek comfort, to avoid friction, and to believe that a good life is one free of hardship. But the Stoics, the ancient masters of the art of living, knew a deeper, more enduring truth. They knew that a life without obstacles is not only impossible, but undesirable. For it is in the fire of adversity that true strength is forged. Resilience, they taught, is not a trait you are born with, it is a fortress you must build, stone by deliberate stone. This video is not another list of quick tips or life hacks. It is an invitation to a deeper kind of work. It is a blueprint, drawn from the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, for building an unbreakable mind. We will journey together into the heart of this profound philosophy, to uncover the secrets of resilience that enabled emperors to lead through plagues and wars, playwrights to thrive in exile, and slaves to find freedom even in chains. We will explore the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, not as historical artifacts, but as living guides for our own turbulent times. We will move beyond the superficial sharing of Stoic quotes and into the practical, daily application of their principles. So, find a quiet space. Allow your mind to settle. This is your time. A time to learn not how to avoid the storms of life, but how to become the calm, unshakable center within them. Stay with us on this journey, and you will not just learn about resilience, you will begin to build it. Section 1, The Secret of Perception, Forging the Inner Citadel. There is a foundational secret to Stoic resilience, a master key that unlocks all other practices. It is so simple that it can be stated in a single sentence, yet so profound that it can take a lifetime to master. It is this: the world around you does not have the power to harm you, only your perception of it does. The great Stoic philosopher Epictetus, a man who was born a slave and endured a life of physical hardship, captured this with piercing clarity. He said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." Let that sink in. It is not the traffic jam that causes your rage, but your judgment that it is an intolerable injustice. It is not the criticism from your boss that creates your anxiety, but your belief that their opinion defines your worth. It is not the loss of a job that breaks your spirit, but the story you tell yourself that this event signifies a permanent and irreversible failure. The Stoics understood that between an external event and our emotional response to it, there is a space. In that space lies our power, the power to choose our interpretation, to assent to a rational judgment, or to fall victim to a destructive one. This is the very essence of what the Stoics called the dichotomy of control. It is a simple, yet life-altering, mental model. Imagine drawing a circle. Inside the circle are all the things you have complete control over: your beliefs, your judgments, your choices, your actions, your virtues. Outside the circle are all the things you have absolutely no control over: the weather, the economy, what other people think, say, or do, your health, your reputation, and even the outcome of your best efforts. The untrained mind spends almost all of its energy trying to wrestle with the things outside the circle. It rages against the rain, despairs over the opinions of others, and ties its happiness to outcomes it can never guarantee. This is a recipe for perpetual anxiety and frustration. It is like trying to command the tides: you will only exhaust yourself and be swept away. The Stoic, however, makes a conscious, strategic decision to withdraw their energy from the things they cannot control and focus it with laser-like intensity on the things they can. This is not an act of surrender. It is an act of supreme liberation. It is the construction of what Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled through war, betrayal, and plague, called the inner citadel. He wrote in his private journal, Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your inner citadel is your mind, fortified by reason, virtue, and correct judgment. Outside its walls, the armies of chaos can rage, misfortune can strike, people can betray you, but within those walls, you remain safe, calm, and in command. No external force can breach it unless you grant it permission." Let's bring this down from the realm of emperors and philosophers into a world you and I navigate every day. Imagine you've spent weeks preparing for a major presentation at work. You've poured your heart into it, honed every slide, practiced every talking point. The day comes, you deliver it, and afterward, your manager pulls you aside and offers a series of sharp, borderline dismissive criticisms. The untrained mind immediately goes into a defensive spiral. She didn't see how hard I worked. She doesn't respect me. I'm a failure. I'll never get that promotion. The event, the criticism, is immediately fused with a series of catastrophic judgments. The result is a flood of cortisol, a weekend lost to rumination, and a deep blow to your confidence. Your inner citadel has been overrun. Now, let's imagine the Stoic response. The same event occurs. The same criticism is delivered. But instead of an immediate emotional fusion, there is a pause. In that pause, you apply the dichotomy of control. Her words, you think, are external to me. Her opinion is outside my circle of control. I cannot change what she said or what she thinks. This is the first step, objective separation. The second step is to look inward, at what you can control. What was my intention? To do my best. Did I do that? Yes. What can I learn from her feedback? Is there a kernel of truth in her critique that I can use to improve? That is within my control. My response to this moment is within my control. I can choose to be defensive and bitter, or I can choose to be calm, reflective, and use this as data for my own growth. Do you see the radical shift? The event has not changed, but the power has shifted entirely. You are no longer a victim of the circumstance, you are an active agent interpreting it. This is the first and most vital secret of Stoic resilience. It is the understanding that you are the sole author of your inner experience. This requires daily, even hourly, practice. It is a mental muscle that must be conditioned. Start today with a simple exercise. Think of a recent event that caused you significant stress or pain. Take a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle. On the left side, write down the objective facts of the event, stripped of all emotional language. For example, instead of, "My partner ignored me," write, "I sent a text at 9 a.m. and did not receive a reply until 4 p.m. Instead of, "My project was a disaster," write, "The project did not meet 2 of its 5 stated goals." Now, on the right side, write down the story you told yourself about those facts. The judgments, the assumptions, the fears. "He doesn't care about me. I'm incompetent." This simple act of separation is the beginning of reclaiming your power. You begin to see that your suffering comes not from the facts on the left, but from the narrative on the right, a narrative that you have the power to edit. As a journaling prompt for tonight, consider this. What is one recurring negative story you tell yourself about your life, your work, or your relationships? Is it, "I'm not good enough, I'm always unlucky," or "people always let me down"? Write it down. Then, challenge it with the wisdom of the Stoics. Is this judgment about something within my control or outside of it? Can I reframe this story into one that is more rational, more virtuous, and ultimately, more resilient? Building your inner citadel is not a one-time construction project. It is the daily work of a vigilant gatekeeper. It is the constant practice of pausing, assessing, and choosing your perception. It is the quiet, powerful refusal to let the chaos of the world become the chaos of your mind. Master this, and you have laid the cornerstone of an unbreakable self. A brief, reflective musical interlude. Section 2, The Secret of Action, Turning Obstacles into Fuel. If the first secret of Stoic resilience is to master our perception, the second is to master our action in the face of what we perceive. For a Stoic, resilience is not a passive shield. It is not about gritting your teeth and enduring hardship with a stiff upper lip. It is an active, alchemical process. It is the art of taking whatever life throws at you, the obstacles, the setbacks, the injustices, the tragedies, and transmuting them into fuel for your own growth, virtue, and purpose. This is encapsulated in one of the most powerful Stoic quotes from Marcus Aurelius, a phrase that has become a mantra for entrepreneurs, athletes, and leaders for centuries: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This idea is the very opposite of how most of us are taught to think. We see an obstacle as a roadblock, a sign to stop, to complain, to feel victimized. The project fails, the relationship ends, the illness strikes, and we think, this is the end of the path. The Stoic looks at the very same obstacle and thinks, this is the path. This is the principle of amor fati, a love of one's fate. It's a concept often associated with the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, but its roots run deep in Stoicism. Amor fati is not a cheerful, superficial optimism. It is not pretending that a terrible event is actually a good thing. It is a sober, profound, and courageous acceptance of reality, coupled with the determination to not just endure it, but to embrace it, to love it, and to use it. It is the resolve that whatever happens, no matter how unwelcome, we will find a way to make it a source of strength. Let's explore this through a story. Think of the great American inventor, Thomas Edison. In December 1914, a massive explosion erupted in his sprawling laboratory complex in West Orange, New Jersey. The buildings, filled with celluloid film reels and other highly flammable chemicals, went up in a spectacular blaze. Fire departments from 8 surrounding towns rushed to the scene but could do little. Edison's life's work, prototypes, records, and priceless research, was turning into ash before his eyes. His 24-year-old son, Charles, frantically searched for his father, expecting to find him shattered, broken by the loss. He finally found Edison standing near the fire, his face ruddy in the glow, his white hair blowing in the wind. Charles recalled his father's calm demeanor. "My heart ached for him," Charles said. He was 67, no longer a young man, and everything was going up in flames. "He spotted me and shouted, 'Charles, where's your mother? Go get her. Tell her to get her friends. They'll never see a fire like this again.'" When Charles looked dumbfounded, Edison explained, "It's all right. We've just gotten rid of a lot of rubbish." The next morning, standing amidst the charred ruins, Edison told a reporter, "I am 67 years old, but I'm not too old to make a fresh start. I've been through a lot of things like this." It prevents a man from being afflicted with ennui. Within 3 weeks, with a loan from his friend Henry Ford, Edison's factory was partially back up and running, and it went on to generate over $10 million in revenue that year, equivalent to over $250 million today. Edison did not see the fire as a tragedy. He saw it as an opportunity. An opportunity to rebuild, to clear out the old, and to start anew with the wisdom he had accumulated. He didn't just accept his fate, he loved it. He found the advantage in the adversity. The obstacle became the way. This is amor fati in action. It is the mindset that transforms every crisis into a classroom. Every obstacle is a training ground for virtue. The Stoics identified 4 cardinal virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. For them, life's purpose was to live virtuously, and every event, especially the difficult ones, was a chance to practice. When you are faced with a complex problem at work, it is an opportunity to practice wisdom, to break it down, to think clearly, to seek counsel. When you face fear, the fear of public speaking, of a difficult conversation, of starting a new venture, it is an opportunity to practice courage. When you are treated unfairly by a colleague or a neighbor, it is an opportunity to practice justice, to respond with fairness, integrity, and a commitment to the common good, rather than petty revenge. When you are tempted by distraction, by excess, by the urge to lash out in anger, it is an opportunity to practice temperance, self-control, moderation, and discipline. Resilience, from this perspective, is the byproduct of a life spent in virtuous action. You become unbreakable not because you are immune to pain, but because you have learned to use pain as a whetstone to sharpen your character. So, how can you begin to practice this today? Start with a simple but radical mental exercise. The next time something goes wrong, you spill coffee on your shirt, you miss a deadline, you get into an argument, your first, immediate, internal response must be to say the word, good. The car won't start. Good. Now I have an opportunity to practice patience, or perhaps I'll get some unexpected exercise walking to the bus stop. The client rejected your proposal. Good. Now I have a chance to analyze what didn't work, to strengthen my pitch, and to practice resilience in the face of rejection. A friend betrayed your trust. Good. This is a painful but necessary lesson in human nature and an opportunity to practice forgiveness and redefine the boundaries of my relationships. This exercise is not about denying the pain or frustration of the event. It is about actively short-circuiting the victim mentality and immediately shifting your brain into a problem-solving, opportunity-seeking mode. It is a cognitive training drill that, over time, rewires your default response to adversity. For your journaling practice tonight, I want you to identify a significant obstacle you are currently facing in your life. It could be in your career, your health, your finances, or your relationships. Describe it objectively. Then, answer this question: how is this obstacle a perfect opportunity to practice wisdom, courage, justice, or temperance? List at least 3 specific ways you can use this challenge not as a burden to be endured, but as a curriculum designed specifically for your growth. Remember the words of Seneca, difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. Do not pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure a difficult one. For in that endurance, in that active transformation of obstacle into opportunity, you will find a resilience that is not only deep but truly indestructible. Section 3, The Secret of Preparation, Forging Resilience Before the Crisis. A wise warrior does not begin sharpening his sword on the morning of the battle. He hones it every single day, in the quiet calm of the training grounds. He practices his footwork, strengthens his body, and disciplines his mind, so that when the call to arms finally sounds, he does not have to decide to be ready, he simply is ready. The third great secret of Stoic resilience follows this exact principle: true strength is not forged in the heat of a crisis, but in the deliberate, consistent preparation done in times of peace. The Stoics were masters of mental rehearsal. They understood that the human mind is powerfully affected by surprise. An expected difficulty is manageable, an unexpected one can be shattering. Therefore, they developed practices to strip adversity of its most potent weapon, the element of shock. The most famous of these practices is premeditatio malorum, which translates to the premeditation of evils, or, as we might call it today, negative visualization. This is perhaps one of the most misunderstood concepts in all of Stoicism. It is not pessimism. It is not morbidly dwelling on the worst-case scenario to induce anxiety. It is the opposite. It is a strategic, controlled, and calming exercise in preparing for life's inevitable difficulties so that when they arrive, we can meet them with equanimity, courage, and a clear head. Seneca, a man who faced political intrigue, chronic illness, and eventually a death sentence from the Emperor Nero, was a fervent advocate of this practice. He wrote, "What is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster." This is a reason for ensuring that nothing is unexpected by us. We should project our thoughts ahead of us at every turn and have in mind every possible eventuality instead of only the usual course of events. He advises us to begin each day by contemplating what could go wrong. We might lose our possessions, our reputation might be slandered, we might be injured, a loved one might fall ill. To the modern ear, this sounds like a recipe for a terrible day. But the Stoic goal is not to become anxious, it is to become inoculated. By contemplating these possibilities in a calm, rational state, we do two things. First, we cultivate gratitude for what we currently have. When you vividly imagine losing your home, you return to it in the evening with a renewed sense of appreciation. When you contemplate the fragility of your health, you are more likely to cherish it and care for it. Second, and more importantly for resilience, you rob these potential events of their power to shock you. You have, in a sense, already lived through them in your mind. You have rehearsed your response. You have considered how you would act, what virtues you would call upon, and what practical steps you would take. You have already answered the question, if this happens, what will I do? So, if it does happen, you are not paralyzed by panic. You are prepared to act. Think of an astronaut. Before they ever set foot in a rocket, they spend hundreds of hours in simulators. In these simulators, they are confronted with every imaginable disaster, engine failure, communication loss, meteoroid strikes. The purpose is not to terrify them. The purpose is to train their response so that if a real crisis occurs at 25,000 miles per hour, their actions are calm, precise, and automatic, born of rigorous training rather than panicked instinct. Premeditatio malorum is your personal resilience simulator. Let's create a modern scenario. You have a crucial job interview tomorrow. The untrained mind might try to avoid all negative thoughts, engaging in wishful thinking, it's going to be great. I'm going to ace it. But this leaves you incredibly vulnerable. What if you get stuck in traffic and arrive late? What if the interviewer is aggressive and challenges your every answer? What if your mind goes blank on a key question? The shock of these events could derail your entire performance. The Stoic practitioner takes a different approach. The evening before, you sit quietly for 10 minutes and run a negative visualization. Okay, what could go wrong? I could oversleep. Plan, I will set 3 different alarms and ask my partner to check on me. I could hit terrible traffic. Plan, I will leave 45 minutes earlier than necessary and have a podcast ready to listen to, so the extra time is productive, not stressful. The interviewer could ask me about my biggest weakness. Plan, I will prepare a thoughtful, honest answer that shows self-awareness and a commitment to growth. I could fail to get the job. Plan, I will remind myself that this one outcome does not define my worth. It is an opportunity to practice, and there will be others. I will ask for feedback and use it to improve for the next interview. After this exercise, you do not feel more anxious. You feel calmer, more confident, and profoundly more prepared. You have transformed vague, free-floating anxiety into a concrete strategic plan. Closely related to this is the practice of voluntary hardship. The Stoics didn't just think about misfortune, they periodically lived it. Seneca would intentionally eat the plainest food, wear his roughest clothes, and sleep on the floor for a few days at a time. He would ask himself, is this the condition that I so feared? By willingly embracing discomfort, he was training his body and mind to endure it. He was proving to himself that he could survive on less, that his happiness was not dependent on luxury. This made him mentally tougher and less fearful of losing his wealth and status, because he knew, through direct experience, that he would be fine without them. You can adapt this in small ways. Try taking cold showers for a week. Fast for a day. Intentionally leave your smartphone at home when you go for a walk. These small, voluntary doses of discomfort build your tolerance for the involuntary hardships that life will inevitably send your way. Here is your practical exercise for tonight. Before you go to sleep, perform a 5-minute premeditatio malorum. Think about your day tomorrow. What is one thing that could go wrong that would normally cause you stress? It could be a difficult colleague, a tantrum from your child, or a technical glitch during a call. Visualize it happening. Feel the initial flicker of frustration or anxiety. Then, visualize yourself responding not with emotion, but with stoic virtue. See yourself pausing, breathing, and acting with calm, rational clarity. Rehearse your virtuous response. For your journaling prompt, identify one area of your life where you feel a lot of anxiety about the future. It could be your finances, your career, or a relationship. Write down the absolute worst-case scenario. Be specific. What would actually happen? Then, write down a detailed plan for how you would survive and even thrive if that scenario came to pass. What strengths would you rely on? What virtues would you practice? What first steps would you take to rebuild? By confronting your fears in the safety of your own mind, you strip them of their power. You transform them from terrifying monsters in the dark into manageable problems to be solved. You become the warrior who has already fought the battle in their mind 100 times and is now, finally, ready for anything. Section 4, The Secret of Mortality, Finding Urgency in Impermanence. There is a secret that the Stoics held closer than any other, a truth so powerful it has the ability to clarify our priorities, dissolve our trivial anxieties, and infuse our every action with a profound sense of meaning and urgency. It is a secret that modern culture, obsessed with youth and the denial of endings, has tried desperately to forget. It is the practice of memento mori, remember you must die. On the surface, this sounds like the darkest of all philosophies. Why would anyone want to dwell on their own mortality? But for the Stoics, memento mori was not a source of depression, it was the ultimate source of liberation and joy. It was the master key to living a good life. Marcus Aurelius, arguably the most powerful man in the world during his reign, was constantly surrounded by luxury, flattery, and distraction. To keep himself grounded, he reminded himself relentlessly of his own impermanence. In Meditations, he writes one of the most chilling and motivating Stoic quotes of all time, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This is not a threat. It is a focusing lens. When you hold the reality of your death in your mind, the inconsequential things that consume so much of our mental energy simply burn away. The petty grudge you're holding against a colleague, the anxiety over a clumsy comment you made at a party, the envy you feel scrolling through social media, do these things matter in the face of your final breath? The answer is an immediate and resounding no. Memento mori is the ultimate filter for what is truly important. It forces you to ask the most vital questions: am I living a life that is true to myself? Am I spending my limited time on the people and projects that matter most? Am I acting with courage, kindness, and integrity? Consider the story of Steve Jobs. In his now legendary 2005 commencement address at Stanford University, he revealed that he had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and told he had only a few months to live. Although that initial diagnosis turned out to be a misinterpretation and he lived for several more years, the experience of confronting his own death fundamentally changed him. He said, "Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart." Jobs was, perhaps unknowingly, articulating the core of memento mori. The awareness of death is not a weight, it is a lifting of weights. It frees you from the trivial burdens that hold you back from living fully and authentically. A person who lives with this awareness is more resilient because their sense of self is not tied to the fleeting and the superficial. They are grounded in the eternal present. The practice of memento mori makes you more courageous. When you realize your time is finite, the fear of failure or rejection seems far less daunting. You become more willing to take the noble risk, to start the business, to write the book, to ask for forgiveness. What is the worst that can happen? You might be rejected. But that pales in comparison to the regret of a life unlived. It also makes you more connected and loving. When you are acutely aware that your time with your loved ones, your parents, your partner, your children, is not guaranteed, you treat each interaction with more presence and care. You are less likely to get caught up in petty arguments. You are more likely to put your phone down and listen. You say, "I love you," more freely, knowing that the opportunity may not come again. So, how do you practice this without falling into a state of morbid gloom? The Stoics used simple, concrete reminders. Some Roman generals, during their triumphant victory parades, would have a slave standing behind them in the chariot, whispering into their ear, Respice post te. Hominum te esse memento. Look behind you. Remember you are only a man. It was a constant, grounding reminder against hubris and a call to humility. You can create your own modern version of this. Find a small object, a coin, a stone, a ring. Designate it as your memento mori reminder. Keep it in your pocket or on your desk. Every time you see it or touch it, let it be a silent prompt to pause and ask, am I using this moment well? Am I focused on what truly matters? This practice will transform your perception of daily frustrations. Stuck in traffic? You are alive to be stuck in traffic. Facing a difficult task? You are alive to be challenged. This shift in perspective is a powerful source of resilience. For your journaling exercise tonight, confront the reality of your finitude head-on. Answer these 2 questions with complete honesty. If you were to die today, what would you regret not having done? What words would you regret not having said? Now, looking at that list, what is one small, concrete action you can take tomorrow to start addressing one of those regrets? This is not an exercise in fear, but in clarification. It is about using the ultimate deadline to create a life of purpose, meaning, and unbreakable resolve. As Seneca wrote, let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day. The one who puts the finishing touches on their life each day is never short of time. Live this way, and you will not only build resilience, but you will also truly begin to live. Section 5, The Secret of Character, the Unconquerable Self. We have journeyed through the secrets of perception, action, preparation, and mortality. But all of these pillars rest upon one final, unshakable foundation, the secret of character. For a Stoic, the ultimate goal of life, and the ultimate source of resilience, is the cultivation of a virtuous character. This is the one thing that can never be taken from you. Your wealth can be lost, your health can fail, your reputation can be destroyed, the people you love can leave you. Every external thing is fragile and subject to the whims of fortune. If you build your happiness and your sense of self on these things, you are building your house on sand. When the storms of life come, and they will come, you will be washed away. The Stoics proposed a radical alternative. Build your house on the bedrock of your own character. Place your ultimate good not in what you have, but in who you are. This is the meaning behind the Stoic doctrine that virtue is the sole good. Epictetus stated this with the force of his own experience. As a slave, his body was owned by another man. His leg was deliberately broken by his master, leaving him crippled for life. He had nothing. Yet, he is remembered as one of the freest men who ever lived. How? Because he understood this core principle. He wrote, "You may bind up my leg, but not even Zeus has the power to break my freedom of choice." He knew that his body, his property, his station in life were all externals, things outside his control. But his will, his character, his ability to choose to act with integrity, courage, and wisdom, that was his alone. That was unconquerable. This is the final and most profound secret of Stoic resilience. A person whose self-worth is rooted in their character cannot be broken by external events. This idea is powerfully illustrated in the life of Admiral James Stockdale, a U.S. fighter pilot who was shot down over Vietnam in 1965. He spent more than 7 years as a prisoner of war in the infamous Hanoi Hilton, enduring regular torture, solitary confinement, and unimaginable deprivation. Stockdale survived, and helped other prisoners survive, by relying on the Stoic philosophy he had studied at Stanford. He knew he could not control his captors. He could not control when he would be released, or if he would be. Chasing after hope for a specific outcome, he later wrote, was a trap that destroyed the other prisoners, what he called the optimism of the naive. They would hope to be out by Christmas, and when Christmas came and went, they were shattered. He, instead, focused on what he could control, his own actions, his own integrity. He created a covert communication system to help the prisoners maintain their morale. He intentionally disfigured himself to prevent his captors from using him in a propaganda film. He refused, under torture, to betray his country or his fellow soldiers. His resilience came not from a belief that things would get better, but from an unyielding commitment to his own character. He decided who he was going to be in that situation, and he lived it, day in and day out. His happiness, his sense of self, was not dependent on his release. It was dependent on his ability to endure with honor. That is an unbreakable mind. Building this kind of character is the great work of Stoic practice. It revolves around the four cardinal virtues we touched upon earlier. Wisdom, the ability to see the world clearly, to navigate complex situations with logic and reason. Courage, not just physical bravery, but the moral courage to face our fears, to speak the truth, and to do what is right, even when it is hard. Justice, treating others with fairness, integrity, and kindness. Recognizing our duty to the human community, our cosmopolis. Temperance, the mastery of our desires and impulses. The ability to practice moderation, discipline, and self-control. These are not abstract ideals. They are practical skills to be honed in the small moments of every single day. You build character not in one grand gesture, but in 1,000 small choices. You choose to tell the truth when a white lie would be easier. You choose to stay calm when your first impulse is to rage. You choose to listen with empathy when you would rather judge. You choose to do the hard work now instead of procrastinating. Each of these choices is a rep, a single workout that strengthens the muscle of your character. One of the most effective ways to cultivate this is to follow the practice of Seneca, who conducted a daily review of his own character. Before sleep, he would ask himself, "What fault did I conquer today? What virtue did I practice? In what respect am I better?" This is not an exercise in harsh self-criticism. It is a gentle, honest, and consistent process of self-reflection and refinement. It is about becoming your own accountability partner in the project of becoming a good human being. Start this practice tonight. Find a quiet moment and reflect on your day. Not on what you accomplished or what went wrong, but on your actions. Where did I act in accordance with my best self today? Perhaps you showed patience with a frustrating colleague or kindness to a stranger. Acknowledge it. Where did I fall short? Perhaps you spoke harshly to a loved one or indulged in procrastination. Acknowledge it without judgment. What can I do better tomorrow? Set a small, specific intention to act more virtuously in one area. This daily practice, this quiet conversation with yourself, is how you build an unconquerable self. It is how you align your actions with your values. Over time, you forge a core of integrity that becomes your anchor in any storm. Your resilience no longer depends on the world being kind to you. It depends on you being kind, courageous, wise, and just, no matter what the world does. This is a strength no one can ever take from you. It is the ultimate secret of a truly unbreakable mind. We began this journey together seeking the secrets to an unbreakable mind. We have walked the ancient paths of the Stoics and found that resilience is not a mysterious gift, but a practical art. A craft built upon 5 foundational secrets. First, the secret of perception, the understanding that our inner citadel is impregnable, that nothing external can harm us unless we allow our judgment to be corrupted. We are the architects of our own inner peace. Second, the secret of action, the alchemical power to transform every obstacle into an opportunity, to not just accept our fate, but to love it, amor fati, and use it as the very material for our growth. Third, the secret of preparation, the wisdom to forge our strength in times of calm through the practice of premeditatio malorum, so that we meet the inevitable storms of life not with panic, but with a steady hand and a clear eye. Fourth, the secret of mortality, the clarifying power of memento mori, the remembrance of death that strips away the trivial and focuses our precious, limited time on what truly matters. And finally, the secret of character, the ultimate foundation of resilience, the cultivation of virtue as the sole good, forging a self that is defined not by circumstance, but by an unwavering commitment to wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. The world will continue to test you. It will be chaotic, unjust, and unpredictable. That is a given. But the Stoics have handed down to us a timeless truth: the chaos outside cannot touch the calm inside, if you choose to build it. Your resilience is not a matter of chance, it is a matter of choice. A choice you make today, and tomorrow, and every day that you are granted. It begins now. Not with a grand vow, but with a single, conscious breath. With one small decision to see things differently. With one moment of quiet reflection at the end of your day. You hold the blueprint. The tools are in your hands. Start building. If this journey resonated with you, if one of these secrets sparks something within you, let us know in the comments. Which secret will you start practicing first? Your story of resilience, your first step, could be the light that guides someone else on their own path. And if you are committed to this journey of building a stronger, more purposeful life, be sure to subscribe to BAudio and turn on notifications. There are more profound lessons to explore, and we are honored to walk this path with you. Thank you for investing your time in what matters most, the mastery of yourself.